while all the others will participate actively in the discussion. Please, those of us on the other side of the curtain, can we come in, please? Let's come back. Let's settle down. Let's settle down, please. Can we settle down? If you're still outside and taking pictures, if you're on the side of the aisles, please, let's go to our seats as we get ready to commence immediately. I had attended a conference recently where they were discussing irregular migration as well as human trafficking. And I went up the podium and very confidently said, my wife is into human trafficking. I didn't know exactly what it meant to say that she was into human trafficking. So one of the NAPTIP officials walked up to me and said, young man, did you say your wife is into human trafficking? I said, yes, very well. They said, okay, can you explain to us? I said, we live on this side of the community and the opposite side is where the school is. So every Monday and Wednesday, my wife volunteers to carry the children from this side of the community to the school that is across on the other side. So I thought she was into human trafficking. At least she's helping to okay, that's not trafficking, really. But please clap for me, please, for correcting my impression of human trafficking. But that's where we get to. Sometimes you just represent some images and they don't truly mean what you're saying. Please, let's get seated. Let's get seated. I'm trying to bring us back. Let's get seated. We want to thank the members of the diplomatic corps who are here and those who work very hard to make sure that migration is as regular as possible. A friend had shared that somebody standing in front of an embassy in this country said that he needed visa. And they say, what kind of visa? I say, please, can I get visa on credit? If I travel and come back, I will pay. But things are changing now. We want to see whether we can bring our national troupe for the first performance, but probably I see that the house is already settled. If we all agree, we can take the first presentation. Afterwards, we take the troupe to break the second one, and then we continue. Do we all agree to that? Hello? Do we all agree to that? Those in support say aye. I'm suspecting some people want to say nay. The nays are not here. Please, those who are at the back, can we just move forward? Move forward. If you feel like a VIP, you can occupy those seats at that side. Just sit, those white seats. Just promote yourself. Those white seats. But please, let's move closer. From this point, it actually looked like some people came and left. Let's move, just move to the tables in front. You are all VIPs now. Just ignore those reserved signs that they wrote. They are for earlier in the morning. Right now, we are all VIPs. Please, let's move, let's move, let's move. Can we move to the front? I still see people at the back and there are open chairs in front. Please come to the front. Come to the front. While we were taking tea, I saw a young girl who she told me that I taught her in a primary school and she's in secondary school now. So I told her, I said, what are you planning to become in future? She said, I'd love to be a pharmacist. I said, oh, that's good. I said, why do you choose pharmacy? She said, I love farming. I will invite the moderator for the first panel. He'll be talking to us and helping us to understand what it is like around issues of contributions of migrants to socio-economic growth and origins. We have talked about infrastructure, development in the origins, countries, social capital, population balance. In fact, I have a friend who travels to every country and he only goes for visa on arrival. Very free. I don't know whether he pays transport fare, but I know he travels for free. But the next person I want to bring will be our moderator for this first panel. He will share with us his ideas. He has contributed significantly to national and international migration governance initiatives, offering insights into sustainable migration management strategies. He has also collaborated with government agencies, international organizations, and other stakeholders to craft evidence-based policies that provide safe, orderly, and regular migration. He has also contributed to policy dialogues and practical solutions addressing the root causes of irregular migration. He is a well-known migration and governance policy expert with extensive experience in addressing migration-related challenges, policy development, and their implementation. Permit me therefore to welcome Dr. Emeka Obiezu. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up. Please can we clap for him as he makes his way to the podium. He will in turn call his panel and they will kickstart the process of our discussion today. Maybe you can stay here first to call your panelists.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I think by this time we could say all protocols duly observed. So we are entering into the Migration Dialogue 2024, where we are faced with the issues that deal with beyond borders, celebrating migrants' legacy and protecting their human rights. It is a well-known fact that migration and migrants are necessary and irreplaceable components of development. This has been acknowledged by international development programs, championed by the 2030 Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals. Different efforts within regional and national circles of development also have identified the relevance of migration in moving and shaping development. The 2030 Agenda in its preambles recognized migrants as key agents of development, and it goes down in its very principles of operation to also recognize migrants as beneficiaries of migration. Today, celebrating the International Migrants Day within the framework of the National Migration Dialogue structure of the migration governance in Nigeria, also building on the thematic issues around the 2025 chairmanship of the Euro-African Dialogue on Migration Rabat process. The Nigerian migration governance have deemed it wise to pick on this issue on strengthening, facilitating, and celebrating the contribution of migrants. Fortunately, unfortunately, when we talk about migration and development, our efforts or emphasis always go to diaspora and remittances. And it is why it is always the fact when the narrative of migration and development is shaped by destination countries, and from some narratives also maybe sometimes populist narratives that think that migrants are only seen in the part of what diaspora take from their destination countries to their countries of origin. But statistics of international records makes us to know that migrants spend 85% of their earnings in their countries of destination, and only 15% may find their way to the countries of origin. And so it is important that when we talk about migrants and their contribution to development, we also take into cognizance the entire migration cycle. And therefore, we talk about what they did before they left, what many of them do on transit, what they do in their destination. And as Civil Society Forum this year has said, we also look at what they return. And so today, we will be discussing in the first panel the contribution of migrants to national development. The statistics of international migrants population tell us that we have 281 million international migrants. And also from the labor migration statistics, we know that over 169 million of these 281 are labor migrants. And these are people who shape the economy and labor force of their destination countries. Men and women who sometimes made it to their places for own development and then return back home with their impacts. I will not discuss the issue myself. I'm only a moderator. And so I'm going to call up people here who are versed in experience and in expertise on the issue of migrants and their contribution to national development. And so permit me to introduce the panelists for this first session of our Migration Dialogue 2024. And it is my singular privilege to invite to the podium or to the seat Engineer Dr. Sule Yakubu Bassi, the Secretary of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Thank you. Someone tells me that when you clap, or the louder you clap, the faster the movement. I don't know whether that is true, but I think it is also helpful to ginger the person who comes up. Nigerian diaspora have been a key factor, as we heard this morning, to national development, sometimes their contribution amounting to higher than other foreign aids that we receive. Professor Laden tells us that in 3 years, the World Bank has told us that Nigerian migrants have contributed over 62 billion US dollars. And I don't always want to equate their contribution by money, because they do more than money. And so we have the Diaspora Commission, who manages these affairs, to be with us, and I think he will do justice to our topic. We also have the privilege to call our development consultant, who knows the value of integrating all efforts, especially that of migrants, to national development. And on that note, permit me to welcome to the panel Professor Adewale Banjo. Thank you. You may not stop until he comes. We just had tea break. We just had tea break. So may you just clap, please, to show that we had a sumptuous tea break. So as it comes up, many times policies, programs have their weight when they are supported with verifiable, theoretically and fact-structured data and analysis. And those who do that better are those who are within the academia that go out to find the data, analyze the data, and structure them for the use of policy. And the other end users benefit from that. And I think nobody else can do this than one whom I know so well, have contributed to enhancing the development of migrants and their contribution to national development in different spaces of academic field. And I'm privileged to invite Dr. Omolala Olarinde, who is a migration expert and leading the Elizade University Department on Migration Issues. Please, can we give her a very resounding round of applause? Again, for migrants to be safe, protected and cared for in their countries of destination. Many a times we often say, and that is what is true, that our consuls, our consulates, our embassies are our home. And so it is important that any migrant who lives in a foreign country connects with the Nigerian embassy and consulate. So today, we would also be joined by Ambassador Asuri Alote, the Director, Consular and Migration, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
How are you, ma? Well done.
Now that the panel seems to be set, I don't know whether I should continue here or I should go to the seats. My panel, are you comfortable I join you on the seat or should I stand here? I should join you. Thank you. I change.
Yes.
Yes. It was actually good you asked me to come here. And it feels good to sit down and moderate. Yes, we are going to have a very robust discussion on this issue of contribution of migrants to national development. And I always like my panel to be very interactive. And I know nobody prepared any presentation, so I'll ask you questions as they come to my head. And I expect you to answer because these people here are grassroots people and will seek practical experiences and also propose practical solutions. To be fair to every one of us on the panel, we will all have our first 3 minutes to engage in the questions I'm going to ask you. And as a good teacher, I've decided to give everybody the same question. But my grading of your question will depend on your own area of experience and expertise. So if I ask you the question, I would want to hear you, the Secretary of Diaspora Commission, to answer that from the perspective of your ministry or your commission, just like Foreign Affairs, the academia, and the development experts. So, after your first 3 minutes, we would also open up to get input from our people who will be listening and also interested to contribute. And to be sure that we have a fair representation, we will have 3 opportunities for people to speak. If the people who speak will stay on 1 minute each. And when they finish or when we collect our input, I would require you to respond in another minute. Nevertheless, you have a free opportunity of 30 seconds. If your colleague says something that jolts you or excites you, just let me know and I'll give you 30 seconds. My time stopper works. And when we have finished, you have another 30 seconds to give us a takeaway point. There are those who will come up after us to tell us this is the resolution of the 2024 Migration Dialogue. So are we ready to start? Yep. Are we ready, Professor? Yes. Okay, my first question would go to the Diaspora Commission. Tell us, within your agency, what have been done in managing, recognizing, facilitating diaspora contribution, what has been done within your area, and also I would also want you to answer in that regard, what gaps did you experience within these last few years in managing that? And of course, the next 1 minute, you might be ready to provide a solution of what you think might be a policy initiative that could help us to do that. And your time is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator.
Let me start by saying that the world of today is a global village. Technology, and especially travel, has made the world a small village. And so migration suits into the perspective of the village setting that we have globally. When you talk about the diaspora are settled migrants. And for our definition, we say that you must have been a regular migrant, you must have settled in your country of destination for a minimum of 1 year, and you also have an address and a source of livelihood. If you are a traveler or a tourist or somebody who is an irregular migrant, you don't fit into that definition. So the diaspora is a very specific definition. The diaspora brings in 5 major things to either the country of destination or transit or origin. 5 specific things. The first is resources, whether resources that they generate or resources that they create. And it could be technical, it could be cultural, it could be social, it could be political, and it could be innovation. The second thing they bring is skills. Many of them have both innate and latent skills that they bring to the table. The third one is talents. The fourth one, which in a lot of spaces are not mentioned, is global exposure. When you travel from one sovereign to the other, you are bringing an exposure that does not belong to that sovereign. So the migrant and the diaspora, they bring global exposure. And the last, which I just discovered recently, is that they bring in their networks. And global networks are all over the place, whether it's political network or technical network or cultural network or whatever. And this dovetails into things like cuisine, things like languages, things like talents in sports, songs and dances, and all kinds of human livelihood issues. Nigeria, because this dialogue is taking place in Nigeria.
Yes, I actually want to stay on Nigerian diaspora.
Yeah, it's both an origin.
We have 30 seconds remaining for you.
A transit and a destination country. We have over 20 million Nigerians in the diaspora, made up of over 18 million modern diaspora and over 2 million historic African diaspora, those whose great parents were taken out as slaves out of Nigeria through the famous Badagry door of no return port, which in NIDCOM we've christened as the door of return, because several of them are returning. When we also talk about migrants, a lot of it starts from the negative by looking at them as brain drain. But within the migrant concept, that brain drain can be turned into brain gain and also what we call brain circulation. That is, everybody wins at some point or the other. Just like you had this morning, if you have Japa phenomena where youths are going out, we also have the Paja phenomena. That is, if you turn Japa backwards, it's Paja. And we have a lot of Paja phenomena taking place, but somehow the press talks more about the Japa phenomena rather than the Paja. Those who are returning, bringing back skills, bringing back investments, bringing back resources, back to Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Executive Secretary. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
That is a very good background to who the diaspora, who the migrant is, and how much their inputs to development have also amounted to development, as it were, and classes of how they bring this development. You also came about giving us statistics, which I also deal with, and sometimes have challenge quoting, because they ask me of my source, and what they call acknowledged source. We'll be talking about 1.7 Nigerians abroad, and we see here over 20 million. And here now we are going to go to the academy, who, on the point of what you do, should be able to tell us from what you have done in the field of tracking migration and its impact in development. What is the story? What is the lesson learned? And what do you think could be done better? Being an academia, you know what time is to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm just going to speak more directly to our recent project. We're working on studying migration decision-making, and we've been doing surveys across 8 countries. Nigeria is one of them. But we've also looked at some larger data sets. For example, we took out 600,000 Facebook posts and tried to analyze them using natural language processes. And one thing we realize is that there's a lot of communication going on social media between people who are thinking about leaving and people who are already at destination, but also among people who have already arrived at destination. And what they're able to do is cut their migration costs by forming a pool of where they can share resources and they can share information among themselves. And this is something that's new because we haven't seen people looking a lot into what kind of other networks, other than the classical, well-known networks that migrants form with family or peers abroad. So social media is becoming increasingly important as a discussion platform. The other thing I want to mention has been said quite a bit here, but I would say it in a little different way. Carling and some other of their colleagues have been in Nigeria under the Migrant study, and just like us, they are noticing that migration has a transformative effect, and that transformative effect is elusive, but often irreplaceable. And I'll tell you what we mean by irreplaceable. The migrant has the potential migrant, or even the migrant, has the impression that what they're going to achieve from the journey, they cannot achieve by remaining. And because our study is one of aspirations, we are able to see how those aspirations form at the source country and how they're thinking about this migration journey. So for them, even if you put barriers to their migration journey, it doesn't stop the aspiration. It just makes the journey more difficult. And particularly for Nigeria and global South countries in general, there are twists and turns. So these migration trajectories, they're not straightforward. There's a privilege to it. I can get up if I have a certain passport and say I'm going to France, and it could be easy for me. But for other people, and the people that we talk to on the field, they take journeys that go through many other ports. So for instance, someone wants to end up in Canada, but goes to Cyprus first. So these twists and turns of the journey are things we need to look into when we think about how to ease the documentation process and how to, what we're saying today, promote more regular migration pathways. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I should have been standing there because I'm feeling so compelled to be lenient sitting down here with time. My colleagues, should I go stand so that I will enforce my time better? I should go stand, right? Yeah, I'm feeling so relaxed here. Please don't make me stand. Right. I really wanted to hear from your work, apart from the perception of what leads and how people travel. I think 2022 or thereabout, NBS, Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, collaboration with IOM, did some migration perception survey and about the programs and the dangers of irregular migration and why do people still have to follow. One of the things that came out of that study and supported by some other sources is that somehow diaspora contribution has also become one of the push factors of migration from the common people that even can go to irregular migration, especially here when in December, migrants or diaspora return and flaunt their wealth, and then even use it as an opportunity to lure some people into that. I don't know if you have that experience in your village, but I think that is one of the things. So I was going to listen to you to know whether a study of your type followed that kind of trajectory to see, because we're talking about contribution of migrants. This is where our focus is, to a contribution of migrants. What is happening around it, what we learn about it. And I've just said one thing I learned, that while we celebrate it, it is also a challenge in the way it is pushing irregular migration or migration by Japa, as the case may be. Anyway, let me leave it for now, and then that takes me over to the development person. To how much do we assess that development contribution of migrants? A professor, I think I have two professors here. That is Professor Adewale. Please, as a development expert, can you translate into quantifiable and qualifiable information what this development contribution of migrants are, what you have learned from your field of development? I know NIDCOM worked with a mortgage bank sometime to establish diaspora housing where you give them some money. And I also know that Nigeria sometimes floated a diaspora bond where we also encourage diaspora to buy. But we know that 85% of diaspora earning goes to family livelihood. So how do we balance this within the context of national development? Do we also qualify that as contribution to national development or not? And then what do you learn? Prof, thank you. I will give you actually 4 minutes for some reasons.
Then allow me to stand then.
Thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen,
But if you do, I don't think they will hear you.
Oh, no.
Unless you go to the...
No, don't worry then. Let me approach it from a Pan-African perspective. You have said so much in terms of what Nigeria may have benefited from the diaspora or African migrants, and from statistics, we're about 140 million outside Africa, outside and within Africa, that could be captured as migrants and diaspora. Now, in Nigeria, since morning, we've been hearing about so much in terms of sources from World Bank. That is actually true. 2022, Nigeria made $22 billion from our diaspora migrants. And that is equivalent to 4% of our GDP. If you go to Ghana, it's actually 5% of the GDP through the ICT sector, fully funded, massively supported by Ghanaian migrants and diaspora. If you go to Senegal, it's actually 9%. As a result of the massive investment of Senegalese in the infrastructure and village-level development. Recently, they've just completed about 50 federal medical center type of facilities across Senegal. If you go to Somalia, remittances in Somalia actually could be described as a major force in their national budget. 25% of the GDP of Somalia is traceable to remittances from the diaspora. In South Africa, the township economy, you know we have, of course, you know what I'm talking about, captures about 4.2% of the workforce linked to the cultural economy that is massively linked to investments around the relationship between the film industry, cultural economy, and the Western world. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we talking about? Before I move on to the next step, the same thing happened in Ethiopia. Ethiopia built the Ethiopia Ground Dam around the provisions made available through the diaspora bond of Ethiopians, $37 billion. And that will be impacting on 65 million Ethiopians by the time the project is completed. And ladies and gentlemen, we are all very familiar with Ethiopian Airlines, am I right? Ethiopian Airlines is sustained majorly by investment from the diaspora, Ethiopian diaspora. Now, we can go on and on and on and on. And in what context do we have this massive investment from the diaspora? It's as a result of remittances and investments. And beyond that, there are a whole lot of things that you cannot quantify directly in terms of naira and kobo or cents and dollars. For example, in Nigeria now, we have academic missions, we have medical missions, we have social and humanitarian missions from the diaspora. In fact, now we have cultural diaspora tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, not too long ago, we had it on record that people are coming from the diaspora to participate in Arugungu Fishing Festival. Ijebu Ode, we have Oju Deoba Festival. Not less than 15 diaspora teams came this last one. This December, I am in touch with a principal officer in Calabar that has confirmed that a whole number of people will be coming from the diaspora to come and participate in the Calabar Christmas Festival. On and on, you cannot actually begin to quantify those things in dollars or in naira. And it is a result of the fact of our massive presence that side too. For example, if you go to UK, 20% of the nurses in UK today are Africans. 20%. I mean, I can put that on the table. 10% of all scientific products in Canada is generated by African scholars, particularly in the STEM industry, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Thank you. I like this man. As he heard it, thank you, he stopped. Thank you so much for that. I was already being excited and carried away by your presentation. I guess so many persons here, all right? And they would have loved you to continue, especially as I make it sound like a debate. Ladies and gentlemen, with this point of mind, I hope I've convinced you beyond all reasonable doubt that diasporas are ineligible contributors to development. You know what? I think I will finish with you. Then I say something that I have heard. I just hope you change it. But if not, I will bring it up when I come back to you. Thank you, Prof, for also being able to give us that quality, quantifiable, and then the quality part of it in terms of what diaspora contributes. But we've not talked about diasporas. That is why I'm staying on that. And we know that Ministry of Foreign Affairs coordinates, oversees the welfare of Nigerians and Nigerian relationship with countries of destinations where the embassies and consulates are. So from your perspective, as one who is the face of Nigeria and who is the Nigerian protector outside, how would you assess, one, the contribution of Nigerians in various destination countries, what has been learned, and how you manage that? And in short, I will change your question. I've changed your question. My question is, how do Nigerians in diaspora see Ministry of Foreign Affairs? I think that's my better question. Should I ask her that? Yes. So please, I changed my question. From the point of view of all has been said, how do you think the Nigerians in diaspora, our migrants, view us, you, as the face of Nigeria, and how have you facilitated their well-being? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. At least now I'm not having to talk about what others have said, but talk about what we actually do as a ministry. It gladdens my heart that at least once in a year, this kind of forum is organized to discuss or celebrate the achievement of our migrants and both the diaspora and the others. Because we come into contact with them firsthand. Of course, we all agree that those that we refer to as migrants, Nigerian migrants, are not in Nigeria, but outside there. And it is the embassies and consulates that have first-hand contact with them in all the countries that they are in. And even when we don't have missions in some countries, we still find a way of reaching out to Nigerians in those countries that we don't have missions. And unlike the Diaspora Commission that can say they limit their interaction to only those that fall within the definition of diaspora for them, we don't have that luxury, and we would not even wish for it, because we know that one of our mandates is to take care of the welfare of Nigerians outside of this country. Both the regular, the irregular, the skilled, the unskilled, the good ones, or the not so good ones. We don't have any choice but to reach out to them and engage with them. We have a saying in my place that even the broken down canoe by the riverside belongs to somebody. That is how we look at our people our migrants outside the country. If they call us today that there is a Nigerian in prison, we go there. If they call us today, Nigeria is in the desert, we go there. When they call us, Nigerians were rescued from the Mediterranean, we go to see them. And in our interaction with them, we have seen the different colors of Nigerians or Nigerian migrants. I don't want to say Nigerians in diaspora. We have seen all of them. And we recognize the contribution that Nigerians make, the regular ones, even in the countries where they reside. They make tremendous contribution to the economy of those countries. Of course, the professor has talked about the scientists, the doctors. We see so many of them. Even the irregular ones, we still have skilled ones amongst them.
Okay.
And even behind the scene, even though it is, should I say, illegal for them to work, but you still see them do something. Even with the little that they can make, they contribute to those economies. You will agree with me that in the Western world, the developed world, there are certain kinds of jobs that their citizens don't do.
Okay.
It is the migrants that do those jobs.
Okay.
And that is their contribution to that economy. In addition to that little that they earn, you still see them send that little back home.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, telling us what Ministry of Foreign Affairs does and how you go out on your ways to achieve that. My question actually was half answered, kinda. I have access to Canadian High Commission services here in Canada, in Nigeria, and I know repeatedly or periodically as things happen, they send information to those who have access to that. Ego Square is not safe today. In case you are in Abuja, don't go that side. Or COVID-19 is here. In case if you can't get to Canada, apply to this funding and we'll be able to take you back, right? Like any of those things that makes citizens want to every time go back to their either embassy or consulate. That is, and then at the end of the year, they send out what they call assess us or tell us how you feel it. Do you have that? And if you have, what is the percentage of what Nigerians say about all these things you do and how they receive it? This one is just my jara. It's not part of it, but you can have 30 seconds to answer that. First, do you have a self-evaluating process where Nigerians abroad can get to tell you how they view your services? And secondly, do you actually have ways where you make these Nigerians get across to you at any point, especially timely information?
We do have, in every mission, we have means of communicating with the migrants over there, the Nigerians in those countries. And through these means, and also through the Nigeria in Diaspora organization, apart from all other organizations that we coordinate, we have means of sending information to our members or our citizens. But we do not have this assess me.
Okay.
We don't have. But we also know
Yes.
that many Nigerians do not want to associate with the embassy because they think that if they come to the embassy and say, oh, this is our situation, that we may give out that information to the host authorities, which would lead to their repatriation.
Okay, thank you. At least I got two things.
Yeah.
One is that Nigerians are not very disposed to approach you.
Yes.
Two is that you don't have a way to assess how they assess you.
Yes.
So at least those who are taking notes should be able to tell us, especially as we are looking for a way forward. Now, it's like we have turned this into diaspora. I was expecting some of you to key into, you try to do that, to use the word migrants, but the emphasis is still on Nigerians. This morning we were told that migrants, there are 1.3 million migrants in Nigeria, and these are also part of those who make contribution, just like we're here talking about diaspora who bring money. How do we, does any of you, I don't know, maybe a ministry or agency does not have opportunity to relate with what migrants in Nigeria? Maybe, I think I should ask our development expert, if, especially as you're Pan-African, I know that in recent time, the Nigerian migration goes towards South and Central, some part of East Africa, and then we are also generating more income from there. But we also know that over 80% of migration into African migration into Nigeria are from our neighboring countries. So what do you see as the assessment of the contribution of this significant population to our own national development, not just what Nigerians abroad contribute, so that it is a balanced statement? Can you have 30 seconds? Again, this is Jara, 30 seconds. So just tell us in quantifiable points what that could be. Thank you.
Moderator, sir, in terms of the dynamics around West African migration or African migration into Nigeria, I think it is more of artisanal migration. There was a particular time we were interested in the inflow of Togolese in the area of plastering and building, construction, finishing, and all that and all that. We were told that when it comes to tiling, that you have to move into West Africa to go and bring a workforce. Initially, the teachers were here, and I don't think that that is the case so far now. Then we have traders too, retailers, traders, entrepreneurs that are also from West African sub-region. And this is actually so because the Nigerian economy is the best economy in West Africa, and it's also cash-based. And the capacity to purchase or to buy things in West Africa is in Nigeria. I've traveled in West Africa a lot, and I discovered that the possibility of growth and sending money back home in West Africa is higher for West African entrepreneurs, just as...
Thank you. Thank you again. What I'm picking from you is not the glory of Nigeria, but what the migrants in Nigeria are contributing to us. And I think I will support you to say, if you want to get a best tied homes, you go for either Togolese or people around that. Would you agree with that? And they're not just the best, but they're also, I wouldn't say, they're also punctual to time. If you give them time, they will deliver it. So that is significant contribution of migrants from Western Africa to this. Each of you will have 30 seconds to respond to this because it is important to us. But I will give the scholar 45 seconds because I want to know, is there a significant scientific study in tracking the contribution of migrants in Nigeria? If there is, what is the result? If there is not, why no interest in that? Thank you.
All right, thanks once more. So there are a number of small studies. I was part of one called Migration for Inclusive African Growth, and we were not just looking at Africans, we were looking at immigrants, Chinese, Lebanese, Indian, and obviously they're setting up firms here, hiring Nigerians and other people in those firms, including nationals from their own countries of origin. But one of the things I'll say is significant is that there's a competition going on between themselves and firms that are indigenous. And that improves competition. Well, for us economists, it's always a good thing in that it improves the final product that you get. So I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much for stopping. And thank you for that significant contribution. Sometime most recently, we were doing a project and then we were emphasizing the need for us to integrate the migrants in Nigeria into Nigerian migration processes. And one of the things we were hearing, especially in zonal engagement, is that the migrants in Nigeria are exploiting Nigerians. And they were talking about various industries where this happened. And I don't know why and how verifiable it is. Even though we did some studies, especially during the COVID era, under a project, and we find out that some migrant-owned establishments were actually employing Nigerians in a very deplorable situation, and I wouldn't say much about that. But why I'm interested in it is it's also forced within foreign affairs. You know, somehow you are the face of Nigeria in and out. People who come to Nigeria would need you somehow, especially as she mentioned, we are not talking about artisans only. Nigeria is a headquarter for ECOWAS, and we also have offices or seats for so many other international agencies. In other words, we have opportunity of receiving other skilled and expatriates who come to work in Nigeria. Sometimes I belong to a group where our members also need to renew their visa, their residence permit, or get accredited by Foreign Affairs before they come in and state of that. Sometimes they tell us the challenges they have to do that. So I want to ask you, in view of harnessing, strengthening the contribution of migrants in Nigeria, how does the work of Foreign Affairs either promote that or have challenges doing that? Would you have anything to say in 30 seconds?
When it comes to, if they are coming from outside, of course they go to our missions to get their visa, but once they arrive here, the other step is for the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Ministry of Interior to do. And we have also noted that challenge of getting returned from them as soon as we would like to. So that causes
Okay, thank you. I would not say much. So, diaspora, you actually have, they told me that you should have 15 seconds on your own kit. I don't know why. That is what I read. They say 15 seconds for diaspora. I don't know who wrote it. So, would you, on 15 seconds, tell us, just like you promote for countries outside to facilitate Nigerian repatriation of their income and all those, how would you, within the space of migration governance in Nigeria, facilitate that non-Nigerians who work here also enjoy what you want Nigerians outside to enjoy?
Thank you very much. I think this morning the Vice President mentioned about the visa on arrival, which is also promoting inflow of migrants, especially business people. And I saw some immigration officers here. And it is strictly for business people, the visa on arrival. If you want to do business here, it's one of the ease of doing business in Nigeria that has been put. My professor talked about the rate of return on investment in Nigeria. And one of the things that have brought in a lot of investments and migrants, plus the investments, is the rate of return on investment in Nigeria is one of the highest you can find anywhere in the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you pick that point? Just taking note that Nigeria facilitates a very beautiful rate of investment. In other words, if I'm understanding you well, if a migrant works in Nigeria, that person should be able to have opportunity to return or repatriate his. I think that is a good thing to hear from Nigeria. Now, I was told our time is up, but I think I will not be fair if I don't take contribution from the group listening and yearning. So please, if you indicate your hand, I said there are going to be 3, and each person, either you're asking a question or making a contribution, please just stay at 1 minute. Please, it will be helpful to us. Cool. Can I see the first hand? Yes, sir. That's first hand, yeah? Yes, sir. That is second hand. Any other hand that place? I want gender balancing. Okay, that's here. Point 3. So, sir. Yes. Please, 1 minute, if you would. Less would be better.
All right, thank you so much. My own contribution or question is to the NIDCOM and Foreign Affairs. Just like Prof mentioned during his contribution, he talked about the marvelous contributions of migrants in some countries in developing particular projects. So my question to the NIDCOM is this: why you try to harmonize the contributions of migrants in Nigeria? Is there a way of trying to narrow down or make a specific project upon which maybe most of the remittances or contributions of migrants, Nigerians will focus and say, this one is being sponsored or supported by contributions of migrants? That's my question.
Thank you so much. I love that clear-cut question. Can we go to the lady in the middle? Yes. And after her, the young man over there. Who was that? Yes, just right behind. Sorry,
Okay.
we're only taking 3.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Beatrice Onoja. I have 2 questions. The first one is, I want to find out what specifically is Nigeria investing the remittances on? Because from the presentation, we were told that other countries, African countries, have used these remittances to put up something. They have invested in some things that are providing, bringing in money in the country.
Okay.
So what specifically is Nigeria using our own remittances to do? Then the second question for the foreign affairs. You told us that our Nigerians, wherever they are in the world, once they call, you answer. So, but we have videos of our Nigerians crying out there, using the Libyan, the girls in Libya as an example. So how comes it's not really tallying? We're getting this information from you, but what we are seeing out there is not the same. So where is the gap? What's the problem?
Thank you. Then the microphone goes right behind her. The gentleman there, thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Ejike. What I have is not a question per se, but I would like to make a contribution as a way forward. Now, if we look at what is happening worldwide, there are three major things that people go out there in search of. One is decent job opportunity. Two, working health system. Three, to have adequate security for both life and property. So, the agencies that the federal government has set up, including National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, have the impetus, have the ability to provide these things within the country, and the people that are going out there to look for these basic things of life can survive here. So all that is needed is the will and the mind to do what is needful. And if you look at what the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons under the leadership of Honorable Tijan Ahmed Ali, you will discover that things are moving forward. We have resettlement centers being built.
15 seconds remaining in your time, please.
Okay, 15, okay.
And
Resettlement centers are being built, skill acquisition centers. What I want to say is that if other agencies of government will go deep in doing these things, this Jackpot syndrome will come to an end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we clap for the audience for that contribution? Now, two questions, basically, we are directed to the panel and go to NITCOM and Foreign Affairs. Okay, and I would give you, honestly, 30 seconds. I would have given you a minute, but 30 seconds to just answer those questions. Two are one. In other words, what tangible things are we using diaspora money for, or initiative that diaspora fund can contribute to? When you finish, and then she will respond to the question of according to her, the discrepancies between what is said and what is known. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think these are very good questions. And in Nigeria of today, post-COVID, we've had 12 world-class hospitals built in Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt with diaspora remittances. We have 3 universities, private universities, that have been developed and are operational from diaspora remittances. We also have 3 and a 4th sports academy developed in Kaduna, in Plateau, and in Kano, and then one coming up in Lagos from diaspora remittances.
Okay.
We also have farms, diaspora engaging in farming, agriculture in Nigeria. And then we have the enterprises for export, especially the yam pondo, that is a global product.
Okay, sir.
Now, for coming up from
Thank you.
diaspora remittances.
I think the list is endless.
Yes. The main one for now is the social investments.
Okay.
School fees are being paid by diaspora.
Okay.
Hospital bills, water projects in villages.
Thank you, sir.
And all kinds of things.
Thank you, sir. I said thank you. Don't mind. The other ones, we can pick them up.
Okay.
But actually, what I was thinking, I want to hear from his question. All these things you are doing are initiatives and generated by diaspora that they are doing their own. But our prof gave statistics. I mean, peculiar things. Dam, railways, air flights, airlines. This is our government projects that are funded with diaspora. So I think the question was like, does Nigeria have that kind of thinking? In 2018, Kenya actually said that one of the best ways they have reduced their borrowing from World Bank is managing diaspora inflow, because they found a way of making the diaspora go through the right channels through their commercial banks. So the results that of this money, the government of Kenya made it as a policy that before you go outside to borrow money, exhaust what the commercial banks can give. And those were coming from diaspora money. Those are, am I asking your question right? Yes. So is there anything like that that we are doing or we want to do? 5 seconds.
Thank you very much. You heard about the diaspora bond that was oversubscribed by almost 190%. This is not to talk of what the diaspora are doing on the stock exchange, supporting companies to do something.
Okay.
There is also the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Trust Fund that is coming on board.
Okay.
Programs and projects like the ones Prof. just mentioned.
Okay, thank you. How we take that and then we put it in and then we'll be able to walk around it. Madam from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, would you in 20 seconds just say, yes, it is true, but this is what it is. Thank you.
Yes, it is true. This is what it is. You know, we have these issues in our missions because the missions, the embassies are not empowered. They are not given any allocation to handle consular matters. And of course, you know that even the allocation given to missions are not enough to take care of the immediate needs of the mission, not to talk of extending it to others, though we still do, but in a very limited capacity. Then there is this, should I say, interagency competition. Every agency in Nigeria wants to look into what is happening abroad. They want to come over there and do the work, even though they are not empowered to.
Thank you so much. I love this. These 2 points you put on the ground, I think we make our report. One is that the agency, I mean the missions are underfunded in terms of capacity to do what they ought to do. That is why such discrepancies may still happen. And also the interagency rivalry, which we do not keep in our home alone, but we take outside. So these are issues that have been underscored. So to round up this panel, I would ask each panelist to use 20 seconds to tell us that word or that thing you think that if we do or if we don't listen to, Nigeria migration contribution of migrants in Nigeria and Nigerians in diaspora may not benefit development. So in 30 seconds, tell us the important word, and I'll start from the Prof. Prof, what is the last word?
2 things. Your response must be knowledge-driven.
Thank you.
And I promise, after this program, I will do a write-up to address these things, and I will send to the agencies free of charge.
Beautiful. I love this man. Thank you. So, can we have the academia? Prof?
Thank you. So, what I'll draw from the background I initially said is that Nigerians are building transnational linkages through the social media. And it will be very important for us to make those spaces safe for them to continue to contribute through those spaces.
Ensure
and the
that
second thing related to filling critical labor shortage gaps across the globe, I think migration is very important to this, and policy makers would need to improve regular pathways and reduce these twists and turns of the journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Foreign Affairs?
We would want to encourage all countries that are signatories to the Global Compact on Migration to work towards the implementation of that compact.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being an agent of GCM. Thank you, sir. Diaspora.
Thank you very much. For us, we have the 3E agenda for the diaspora. 1, we need to engage with them. 2, we need to enable them. And 3, we need to empower them to bring development both to their host countries, to their transit countries, and to their countries of origin. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, dear colleagues, friends, and partners in migration governance in Nigeria. We are most grateful to our panelists who have done so well in enabling us to discuss this contribution of migrants to socio-economic growth of their origin and destination countries, sometimes countries of transit. So in your honor, I would request that we give a resounding round of applause to Engineer Dr. Sule Yakubu Bassi, Professor Adawala Banjo, Dr. Omolala Olarinde, and Ambassador Ayaseri Ateno Alote. Please, round of applause as we bow and take our leave.
May we invite the Honorable Commissioner to join them for a group photograph. You can step forward. You have done well. Please put your hands together some more for them. The Honorable Federal Commissioner will be in the middle, please. I wanted to apportion this according to height, but it's hard. We may just ask them to sit if we want to make it uniform. Well, put your hands together some more for them. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, very quickly, we will be taking the next panel. We understand that the dancers are still on standby, but these discussions are very important, and we'll just take them quickly so we can get it done with. Are we still together? Are we still here? Okay, can you just check under your seats? They say there are 5 people here with return ticket from Dubai. 5 people in this hall have tickets under their seats. Can you just check? You don't believe me? I don't even believe myself. I will be regular migration. But distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please let's once again thank the panel. Please put your hands together for them. An old Italian gentleman lived alone in New Jersey. He wanted to plant his annual tomato garden, but it was very difficult because his grandson, Vincent, who used to help him, was in prison in another country. The old man wrote a letter to his son in that country describing his predicament. He said, "Dear Vincent, I'm feeling very sad because it looks like I won't be able to plant my tomato garden this year. I'm getting too old to be digging up the garden plot. I know that if you were here, my troubles will be over, and I know that you'll be happy to dig the plot for me in the very old way that you used to do it." A few days later, he got a letter from his son saying, "Dear Papa, don't dig up that garden. That is where the money and the bodies were buried." At 4 a.m. the next morning, FBI agents and local police arrived, and they dug up the entire area without finding any bodies, without finding any money. They apologized to the old man and left. That same day, the old man received another letter from his son. This time, the letter was short, and his son said, "Dear Papa, go ahead and plant the tomato garden now. That's the best I can do under my current circumstance." That is called remittance. The next panel will be moderated by one who understands social sciences. He had written once that the internet killed the library and Google killed the encyclopedia. But he understands also that he's the influential treasurer. I read one of his quotes somewhere that says, "They don't sell success at the convenience store. That is why we have to walk miles for it." and reminded me of somebody who looked at me once and said, Ben, do you know that money cannot buy happiness? And I looked at him, I said, look, who told you that the money I'm looking for is happiness I want to buy? I know what I want to buy, leave me. But this man is the immediate past Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, is also a professor of industrial sociology, currently the Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin of the Nasarawa State Polytechnic. Please put your hands together as I invite Professor Theophilus Lagi. Please clap for him as he comes up. Sir? Nasarawa State University. Nasarawa State University, please, not Polytechnic. He has passed Polytechnic since. He didn't even attend it. Please put your hands together for Prof.
Well, once again, you will agree with me, ladies and gentlemen, that today is a day that has so many issues pertaining to the issue of international migration. And we have so much to say, and there are so many things that have been said. What tends to resonate from what His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had said, we seem to raise more questions than answers when it comes to the issue of international migration. The fundamental questions by way of preambles that we should begin to ask ourselves is, what is it about Nigerians that makes us to be different from other African countries? It seems as if Nigerians are everywhere on the globe. If you go to Siberia, the remotest part of Russia, I bet you will see a Nigerian there. Go to Mongolia. You will see a Nigerian in Mongolia. There is no African country that you will not see a Nigerian. There is no part of Europe, Latin America, that you don't find Nigerians. And whether we like it or not, we are hated. They don't like our gods. You get to hear them say that we are loud, we are resilient. Every youth of this country, from the age of 18 and above, wants to leave the shores of this country. And sometimes, these youths tend to pay the ultimate price. Is it in Libya that you don't find Nigerians dying? Is it in Italy that you don't find our young girls prostituting? So the issue of migration, we have been hearing issues of remittances is bringing billions of dollars into the Nigerian economy. What about our doctors that are trained by the federal government of Nigeria? What about the nurses that we spend trillions of naira in training them? What about academic staff from across Nigerian universities that find their ways in every corner, nook and cranny of the world, seeking for greener pastures? And as migrants, they are always subjected to dehumanizing conditions. If you go to Europe, you see a Nigerian immigrant destroying his international passport because, as in those days they used to say it, he went there to hustle. A master's degree holder, a PhD holder, working in restaurants and washing plates and dead bodies. And they never get to come back home. So So these are the issues. I was watching a documentary film the day before in China where there is this huge slave labor, forced labor, about a minority tribe in China picking tomatoes. The issue of human trafficking, slave labor, are issues that should bother our conscience. The issue of human degradation, immigrants, do they have rights? Are they being abused? There are organizations in Europe that are clearly there to venge their angers on immigrants. Not to talk about Europe, southern part of Africa, we've been hearing stories about attacks on fellow blacks by blacks that the Vice President mentioned here today. When we are supposed to protect our continent, develop our continent, have some sense of dignity and pride in developing our rural areas, our nurses have no business going to Europe, going to Saudi Arabia, and most of these Arab countries to work when our villages are in their need of Medicare. How much is the remittances? So these are the issues that we are going to talk about in today's panel. The issue is ensuring the protection of migrants' rights, access to information, decent work, and documentation. And in today's panel, we have 4 key personalities, experts that will do justice. Nigeria is a country that has signed a series of international conventions about the protections of migrants' rights. But are they feasible? Are migrants being protected? Because whatever the discourse of today is going to be Nigeria-centric in nature. We should look inwards and talk about the problems of migration as it affects Nigerians and Africans. And the first personality on the panel is Dr. Chibuzo Onyema, Black Ancestral Native Community NGO. Is he around? The second personality is Paula Pace, Deputy Chief of Mission, IOM. You're welcome, ma'am. And the third panelist is Dr. Onazi Sunday, Federal Minister of Labor and Employment. Sorry. Dr. Onazi Sunday, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. And lastly, Dr. Tony Ojukwu, National Human Rights Commission. So once again, the topic for discussion is towards ensuring the protection of migrants' rights, access to information, decent work, and documentation. So if you will excuse me, I will join the panelists, and then we'll get down to business. Thank you. Well, it seems as if we have one person that is absent, but we will make do without him. Thank you. Well, Nigeria as a country has a series of international framework for migrant protection. Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Protection of Rights of migrant workers and members of their family. Nigeria is also a signatory to the International Labour Organization, that is ILO Convention, which has several conventions that protects the rights of migrant workers. The Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration is also part of it. So this provides a kind of a framework for the protection of migrants' rights and production of safe, orderly, and regular migration. So what we have before us, all these conventions and regulations, do they really ensure the protection and rights of migrants? Does it have anything to do with access to information or lack of it? Migrants subjected to dehumanizing working conditions? If they do have rights, then what is fundamentally wrong? So the first question will go to Dr. Chibuzo Onyema from the Black Ancestral Native Community NGO. How effective is Nigeria in upholding migrants' rights in alignment with global compact for migration and international standards? If there are such conventions, how feasible is it? If I may pose that question to you.
Okay, thank you very much. In logic, you begin the art of reasoning from coming from the known to the unknown. And so if we are here today having this conversation, then it tells you that Nigeria is a key player and has interest and is also showing that interest in ensuring that there is healthy and reasonable conversation around and within the migration governance and space. And that's how come we spend the entire day here. Not because we don't have anything else that we could have been doing, but because the country is interested at ensuring that everyone who resides within and in Nigeria is not only just protected, but provided with an enabling environment to succeed. And if you also look at Nigeria's policies in domesticating some of these extant international migration laws, you would see that Nigeria is not playing lone game or looking away from the interests of migrants. So yes, to answer your question, Nigeria is protecting the interests of migrants. There may be some gaps, but those gaps, of course, also exist everywhere else, because some of us have had the opportunity and privilege of living outside of Nigeria, and we know that there is no nation that hasn't got its own challenges. But when it comes to being intentional, that's how come also that we have been hosted by the National Commission for Refugees and Migrants to discuss and to proffer solutions to these challenges where they exist. And just a few weeks ago, we concluded the review of the National Migration Policy, which very soon we hope will be signed into law and become effective. And you can see that that is an autochthonous document, homegrown, developed by Nigerians, by nationals, to think around how the migration space can be governed within the sovereign nation called Nigeria. So we are not independent, as it were, in domesticating, in formulating these laws, because we're also looking at international best practices, either of the United Nations, and we've borrowed a lot of both languages and even intelligentsia from IOM. So yes, Nigeria is interested, Nigeria is intentional, and Nigeria is protecting the rights of migrants.
Okay. Well, Doc, if there are some gaps, maybe you should be able to identify one or two gaps and then tell us how we can be able to remedy those gaps.
Thank you. We have also identified these gaps as you listen to several speakers who spoke earlier, whether it is by way of goodwill message, including the National Commissioner for Refugees and Migrants. Sometimes you find that these migrants don't have, especially those ones who are displaced. Because sometimes once migrants is mentioned, you begin to think of those who have traveled from far to come to your country, but we also have internally displaced who are migrants.
Yes.
I am a migrant, for instance, because I'm from Abia State, but I reside in Lagos. I could have lived in my village, I would have preferred to stay there. But the reason why I didn't stay there is because we have shortage of land space, because I would have preferred to be an agriculturist, and even a farmer even. But there are certain natural setbacks that would not allow me to live in my village and enjoy the ambience of the freshness of the air and even drink from the palm wine that comes naturally from my village. And so whether you are international migrant or national migrant, as long as you're not living within your natural habitat, you're a migrant. And whatever challenge you face there, be it housing, access to healthcare, whatever it is that will be your limitation will be the gap. Is the nation doing something about it? Yes. Is what they are doing sufficient? Maybe no. But are they planning? Are there systems that have been put in place to ensure that these gaps are met? Yes, absolutely. And that's also part of why we have been having these conversations this morning.
Thank you very much. May I, at this point, call on Associate Professor Habiba Musa, who is going to join us as the fourth panelist to replace one of the panelists that is absent. Is Professor Habiba Musa here? Please join us if you can. Give her a round of applause, please. Thank you. Well, the second question is access to service. We have issues where migrants face series of challenges accessing basic services like healthcare, education, legal support in Nigeria. Over time, we have migrants. In those days, during the Liberian Civil War, I think the Commission has been saddled with taking care of refugees from Liberia. This time around, our neighboring country of Cameroon also is saddled with the problem of, taking care of refugees from the, from Cameroon, those who are collaborating for the state of Amazonia and the rest of them. So when they come, they face series of challenges. The ability to access basic service delivery system like healthcare, education poses a challenge. And little wonder we have been informed on the effort that has been made by the Commission over time to make sure they bring about succor to the internal migrants and those who are coming from within the African shores. We are quite aware of the efforts that has been taken to take care of their needs. So what measures can improve access and inclusion? And this question will go to Professor Adewale Banjo. Sorry. Dr. Tony Ojukwu, is he the one that is absent, I think? Okay. Prof, if you are listening, we're talking about access to service deliveries in terms of education, healthcare system when it comes to migrants.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Am I free to speak freely and just speak my mind on these issues?
Feel at home, you can be emotional.
Oh, I should just go with the narration, with the narrative.
Just
Thank
talk
you.
to the question. Feel free to say whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think, for me personally, I feel we need to change the narrative. As a proud Nigerian, I think I stand to be corrected, but I think migrants of all race and nationality enjoy almost the same amenities that Nigerians enjoy. Like I said, I stand to be corrected. I feel truly that we should start changing the narrative and start telling the Nigerian story. If we don't tell our story, nobody else will say it out for us. I know that Nigerians are very hospitable. They cater for migrants as best as they could. I'm not even talking about the government interventions. I'm talking about Nigerians and as individuals. Nigerians are homely, they accommodate as many as they can. I think the issue we should start projecting now is how Nigerian immigrants are being treated outside the shores of this country. I think Nigeria and Nigerians have done the best they can, and there is still, of course, there are still rooms. There is still room for improvement, and I don't think that if you are a migrant and you go to a hospital, you won't get the same care that a Nigerian will. I think the rights of migrants, like the first speaker said, are being respected by this country. The question is, how are Nigerians in the diaspora treated? How are they respected? So I think the narrative should start changing from migrants' rights. Yes, we can talk migrants' rights, and we also should be talking about the Nigerian immigrants' rights, Nigerians that are outside the shores of this country. Everybody has their downs and their ups. So the Nigerian immigrant is not different in any way. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Habiba, you know, when we were growing up in those days, during the apartheid in South Africa, people like Thabo Mbeki, even the South African president, had their university education here in Nigeria. I believe during the Soweto riot, the Sharpeville massacre, in the early 70s, if I'm not mistaken, many South African freedom fighters scattered to many of the frontline states, and many found themselves in Nigeria as, immigrants, as refugees. And they were comfortably taken care of by the government of the day. They were in schools. Basic amenities were provided to them in terms of education. Most of them got their education here in Nigeria. They had all the support in the quest to fight apartheid in South Africa. So has things changed over time, maybe due to economic downturn? The immigrants that they find themselves, let's say from Niger, from Cameroon, and other African countries, are they comfortably accessing facilities like healthcare, or are they still facing challenges just the way Nigerians are facing challenges in accessing primary healthcare and secondary healthcare and even education?
Thank you very much. I will just be answering this question, like I said, from my own perspective, because I don't have any data to back it up. But from all I know, and from my interactions with non-Nigerians that are in Nigeria, I still maintain that migrants in Nigeria have access to all the other amenities that all Nigerians have. Thank you, and I hope I have answered your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Paulo Pace, Deputy Chief of Mission. I specifically preserved this question for you. Yes. You know, if you take a cursory look at United States of North America today, it's a land of immigrants. The United States of America, it is what it is today as the most highly developed capitalist country as a result of the contributions of immigrants to the development of that country. How does cultural exchange and then acculturation by immigrants shape societal values in a host origin country? Talking about cultural fusion, music, culture, food, cuisines, when it fuses together, does it change the dynamics of such a society? What are the contributions of immigrants in the development of any country where you find yourselves?
Thank you for this good question. Yes, the United States of America, together with, it's one of the 5 biggest immigration countries in the world, together with Russia, the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, and others. So yes, it's one of these countries that has received lots of contributions, not only in terms of economic contribution, because we said migrants consume more. The majority of international migrants are migrant workers, followed by family members, international students, and then you have between 10–15% of international migrants are asylum seekers and refugees, those who had to flee their country of origin because of persecution on certain grounds or generalized violence. And all these different categories of international migrants contribute economically to the country of origin. We said it before, they spend mostly, not only they work and contribute, but they also spend the majority of what they gain in country of destination. But they don't bring with them only their skills or their knowledge. They bring innovation, they bring taste, they bring different food, and so on and so forth. So certainly they manage to build societies, and there are countries that are built on migrant workers, and it's not only these 5 biggest immigration countries. You have countries like Qatar, where 70% of the workforce, as I'm standing close to my friend and my brother from the Ministry of Labor and Employment, you have entire countries where the majority of the workforce is made out of migrants. I also heard mentioning Libya before. We know Libya because of the struggle. I've been worked for 6 years in North Africa because of the struggle that many migrant workers, including Nigerians, go through. But we cannot forget that Libya also reconstructed itself after independence in the 60s, when lots of African brothers and sisters went to help the reconstruction of the country. And in fact, 12% of the Libyan population is made of migrant workers, from the continent mostly, and also overseas. So migrants really contribute to society. But we also know that unfortunately, and allow me to say, my brother, we still have, also in Africa, not only in Europe, in North America, in other continents, we still have this bad perception. I heard today sentences like, we need to stop the Japa syndrome, everybody should stay home. We still have this idea that migration is negative. Migration is a phenomenon, it's a social phenomenon that has always existed and will always exist. We said it, the majority of migrants are internal migrants, voluntary internal migrants. They are much higher in numbers in terms of migration. International migrants are still rare, are 3.6% of the population, but their number increased along the years. And that's also why in the 70s, states like Nigeria came together to write a human rights treaty to put the migrant at the center, because before being workers, as the majority of international migrants are migrant workers, migrants are human beings. And they bring with them their ways of thinking, their way of eating, the way of living in societies. And they also manage to shape the society they come from and they live in. because of this exchange, because of they can be the best of the two worlds they live in. So that's what migration is about. But we really need to change the way we see migration and change the way we see migrants. At the end, are human beings first, with rights.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, if we are to go into specifics, like arts, music, languages, I heard somebody making cross comparison between the English language as against the Nigerian language as against the American language just some few hours ago. If Africa or Nigeria was not colonized by the English, maybe we couldn't have been speaking broken English. Now we have broken as a mode of expression that is even spreading to other African countries. Pidgin English, to be specific. And if not for anything, maybe in future, it's just my imagination, maybe Pidgin English may eventually turn out to be a lingua franca of Africa, and then maybe a language that we identify, because it seems as if almost everybody now speaks Pidgin English. If not for the colonizers, maybe we couldn't have been speaking English by now. So this goes a long way to show you about the influence of language over time. The issue of, so I don't want to say in Nigeria, but if you look at the global phenomena of migration and the contribution of migrants to the development of, we mentioned United States of America, somebody mentioned Nigerian music. The Afrobeat at a point in time was an alien thing to the world, but now it seems as if Afrobeat is an end thing that is even competing globally with R&B and other forms of musical genre. So that goes a long way to show the universality of music and then the acceptability of music based on the influence of, African culture, Afrobeats, and then it is spreading towards the world. I think that goes a long way to show you that how the world gradually is now becoming a global space where people are beginning to accept values from other societies. What do you think about that? Yes.
I totally agree. That's why we started this morning with the arts and culture performance from a Nigerian diaspora. His name is Alfin Ze. He's also teaching Igbo through a YouTube channel. I invite you to listen to it because he teaches language also using music and musicality. I find it very interesting. And I have the luck doing the job I do in international organization to meet a lot of very interesting Nigerians also in various professions, but also in the creativity industry, including music. And I think it's important because he allows expressions, but also he allows exchange. He allows us to change the way we see things through the lenses of artists and those who continue challenging the status quo or simply reflect on where we are and where we would like to be in terms of society. Which kind of world do we want to leave to the next generation? So I think this morning performance in which we were reflecting on the fact that nobody should sleep until we don't think about migrants in a different way, we don't challenge the way also the world look at Africa. And I think there's nobody like an Africa son or daughter that can tell the story of the continent, also through art, also through music, also through cinema, and the cinema and the music that bring a message of hope, a message of change, a message of facts, how rich the culture, how rich this continent is, how rich Nigeria is as well. So I think it's important.
Thank you very much, Madam Paula. The second question goes to specially preserved for you, sir. Onasi Sunday, from the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. if there's any person who is conversant with the issue of exploitation, human trafficking, and abuse, that will be you. It is true that immigrants, mostly illegal immigrants, are mostly exploited.
We have
Irregular immigrants are mostly exploited. We have incidences of abuse, even modern slavery, and the issue of human trafficking. So the question is, what role can government, civil society organization, and private sector play in protecting migrants from such exploitation, trafficking, and other forms of abuse?
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Government is very key when it comes to protecting the rights of migrant workers in Nigeria, because government is a regulator, if you agree with me. And government also recognizes the importance of protecting the right of migrant workers, because a migrant whose right is protected can contribute more to the development of both the host country and the destination country as well. Government have formulated a lot of policies to protect the right of migrant workers, to prevent forced labor and also prevent human trafficking. Nigeria have a very robust migration governance framework that will leverage on the multi-sectorial approach. And NCFRMI, that is organizing this program here today, is the lead agency, where we have other thematic thematic agency. For example, in Ministry of Labor, we have what we call the National Policy on Labor Migration. One of the key objectives of that policy is the protection of the right of migrant workers and members of their family. Now, the ministry, representing government, also promote what we call fair and ethical recruitment. Because most of the abuse that you talk about, the forced labor that you talk about, arises in the workplace. So the ministry, through a licensing of private employment agencies, because private sector create more jobs even than government. You agree with me? So government need to regulate the activities of private employment agencies in order to prevent what we call unfair labor practices, human trafficking, and forced labor. For example, the labor law says for you to recruit any Nigerian to work abroad or foreigner, you must be registered with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment through the recruiter's license regime of the federal government. You can either register as a domestic job placement or foreign job placement. And when you are registered for foreign job placement, there are rules governing your activities. The ministry needs to monitor your activities to know what you are doing. And before they do that, they will send your application to NAPTIP, who is the government agency that is in charge of human trafficking. They will also send your application to DSS for them to clear you that your organization is not involved in human trafficking before the Ministry of Labor will register you. All these processes are geared towards protecting the rights of migrants in Nigeria. Because if a migrant is not well, if the regulators, if the private employment agents are not well regulated, you agree with me that issues of forced labor will be there. For example, if a company is recruiting for overseas job placement, Ministry of Labor needs to scrutinize the employment contract, which is a way of protecting the migrant worker. Now, when we scrutinize the job contract, it should not be written in a language that is not understood by the migrant. It must be written in the language that the migrant understood to protect the migrant's right. Also, we go to inspect what we call labor inspection of workplaces where migrant workers, are working, to see what is happening there, whether the employers are, honoring the contract of employment or they are deviating from it. So this oversight functions is played by government to ensure that the right of migrant workers in Nigeria is protected. I give you an example. If if a private employer is recruiting for overseas job placement, he need to bring them to the ministries, what we call the Migrant Resource Center, where we conduct pre-departure original seminars for this intending migrant, and where we educate them for them to identify indicators of forced labor. For example, when you arrive at the destination country, if your employer asks for you to submit your international passport, on no account, on no ground, should you submit that passport to your employer. Once you have done that, that means you are going to be, you are going to experience a forced labor. All those things are things that are being, exposed to migrant worker. And also when we go to the labor inspections as well, we also ensure that migrant workers form union. They can unionize, just like Nigeria, because the labor law is applicable to both Nigerians and migrant workers. It's not discriminatory. And then when you talk about a civil society organization, civil society organizations are very important when it comes to issues of migration, because migration is a cross-cutting issue. It cuts across different roles of different MDAs as also a civil society organization. So government collaborates with civil society organization. Today you can see here that a lot of civil society organizations, they are here. And then within the migration governance framework, the technical working group, civil society are member of the technical working group. We share information. We carry out awareness creation when it comes to issues of migration. We work together with civil society organizations because the place of civil society organization in the world is very, very important. There are things that civil society organizations can say. They act like a watchdog that government cannot say, but civil society can point it out. So they are also very important when it comes to the protection of the rights of migrant workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that exposition. While you are talking, one particular point just came to mind, the issue of migrants' rights. Let's say if somebody from Cameroon comes as a refugee to Nigeria, let's say an academic staff from any university from the Cameroons, and then not a combatant, but somebody with his family running away from persecution, comes as a refugee and is well documented. Is there any automatic slot, that will give him that employment opportunity in Nigeria based on our labor laws, or he has to struggle through thick and thin for him to be gainfully employed? Are they giving priority?
Like I said before, the labor law is not discriminatory. It applies to both Nigerians and foreigners who are working in Nigeria here.
So when there are opportunities,
if there's opportunity, everybody must apply, just like Nigerians.
They are not treated differently.
No, you have to apply.
As refugees.
You have to apply. You have to apply for the job, just like a Nigerian.
When you apply, is there a special slot?
Well, I'm not working in the Refugee Commission.
Okay.
I may not be able to tell you that. So,
you want to say something?
Yes, on
you
that.
can answer that.
Okay, Habiba, maybe Habiba has something to tell us.
Sorry, on that, I think one of the cardinal rules in migration law is that you don't give the migrants a superior rights over the citizens, because that will create a problem, an internal problem between the citizenry and the migrants. Thank you. So they are all put on the same pedestal.
That's why I say the labor law is not discriminatory. It gives equality to both Nigerians and non-Nigerians who are working in Nigeria here.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back to Dr. Chibuzo Oyema. The topic of the day in our panel is ensuring the protection of migrants' rights. Just free your mind. Is there anything you want to add up to what you have said? Maybe while contemplating, anything new that you want to talk just in a few seconds?
Okay, I come from a background of chartered tour operation, and I have been in that space for 16 years. And that is contributing to secular tourism, which is one tourism product that every nation desires. You're legitimately coming to do business or to visit, and you return to your home country within a short record time according to the specification of the visa that you've been given. That's the space that I have operated for so long. I've been 16 years, it's not a joke. And recently, my organization, Blacks Ancestral Native Community, hosted the Irregular Migration Summit here in Abuja. And the concentration and our focal point is to dissuade people from embarking on irregular migration, because we believe that anybody who wants to migrate to any part of the world should first of all research to see what the laws of that country is pertaining to his desires, and also evaluate himself first off before even embarking on that journey to know whether he has the requisite skill and whether he's got all that that nation is looking for, because every country of this world is in their need, and I want to underline the word there, need of positive migrants who will come to contribute to the economy and GDP of their nation. And that's how come you find people of all races in almost all countries of the world. And so my advice, and this is a platform also to further deepen that conversation, is that anyone who wants to embark on any form of journey should do it legitimately within the confines of the law, within the prescription of the extant laws of that nation to which she desires to travel, and be sure that he's not doing or she's not doing anything outside of the regular means of visit and travel. When that is done, you find that the nation to which you are applying to visit would open its doors to receiving you, because every nation wants to give you a good place. As has been said here, no nation will discriminate against you because you are coming as a foreigner. And in fact, the variation of colors is what every nation even brags about. They will tell you how many international workers, how many international visitors have come within their sovereign regions. And so that tells you that you are not, nobody is working against you, but everyone wants to protect your interests.
Okay, Doc, our time is limited. Thank you for your contribution. Paula, you know, I don't know about other countries. The youth of these days, they are used to social media. They see other cities, skyscrapers, and that tends to be very deceptive. They see the city of New York, London on television, and they, in their mind, they say that's the place to be. You see, some of them, they sacrifice whatever it is. Because why I'm asking you this question is, I happen to come from the university. There is no day in the university that our graduation students they don't want to. They are not thinking of this Japa thing. As you've said, it's a phenomenon. We cannot stop it. It's already a phenomenon. Many countries are engaged in it, isn't it? So what can we do to mitigate, to educate the younger ones? You know, we have a lot of employment opportunities here in Africa. You just need to look inwards. If the Chinese and other people are seeing opportunities in Africa, I don't know why our youth are not seeing what other people coming from other countries see. And they come here to make money, and they go to develop their country. So what advice can you give our youth to begin to look inwards, develop skills, and then stay at home?
At the end, migration becomes really if you like, an individual and a family or a community project. So that's like, it's a natural phenomenon that will always exist. But I agree with you that we cannot have a continent depriving itself also its talents, and that's exactly what the job of my organization is, to make sure that we work with our member states to make migration a choice and not a necessity. Exactly as you say, opening also the mind of people working with the government, for example, the Ministry of Labor and Employment, the Migrant Resource Center, also to inform the youth on what are the opportunities in Nigeria, in their own country, in their own LGA, or another state in their own country. So that's important, and this is a shared responsibility. You do it when you talk with your young student. The media, also the artists can do it in their own way when they send messages to their follower and their public.
Okay, thank you very much, Paula. Thank you very much.
That's what we can do. But at the end, it's a personal choice.
Yes. Dr. Onasi, anything on that?
Yeah, I would like to address, at the beginning of this session, you did mention issues of international conventions that Nigeria have ratified with respect to the protection of migrant workers. I would like to just conclude by saying that Nigerians have ratified the UN Convention on the protection of the rights of all migrant workers and members of their family. We also ratify international convention, that's the ILO Convention on Private Employment Agencies, Convention 181. We have also ratified Convention 143 on migrant supplementary provisions. We have also ratified Convention for Employment. These conventions that I mentioned are conventions that are ratified and domesticated into the provisions of Nigerian labor law to protect, like you said before, the rights of migrant workers in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm grateful. Prof, anything that comes to mind?
Okay, like I said earlier.
Advice to our youths?
Let's tell our story.
Japa.
Yes, let's tell our story. And I'm glad to learn today that there is something like Paja too, as an antithesis to Japa. So let's learn to tell our stories as Nigerians. I always say that there is no homeless Nigerian. Every Nigerian has a place to call home, except he or she chooses not to return to that place of abode. And it's not all rosy out there, and Nigeria can be much better, but if we start multitasking and taking it upon ourselves to create the enabling environment for every Nigerian youth, I don't think the Japa notion will be demystified, because it's actually more fiction than real. Thank you very much.
Okay, I don't know whether we can entertain maybe 2 or 3 questions from the floor. If there is any person who is itching to contribute. Okay, I can see from here. Okay, the man in red cap, please. You can ask any of the panelists or make contributions. You are at liberty to do that.
It's you, sir.
Yes. The man with the red cap. Introduce yourself.
Good day, all. My name is Jeto Nwadi. I'm the zonal coordinator, CSO NetMed Southeast. So when you were discussing, deliberating, you were talking about gaps, identifiable gaps, and about migrants, both internal and external migrants. I think we have a lot of gaps. Like the issue of stereotype. If you don't address stereotype, it will hinder the developments. I didn't hear you talk about stereotypes. It is found both in internal and external migrants. Like something happened in the Southeast about 2 months ago. The agency here, we are talking about establishing an IDP resettlement center and at Owerri. We did the advocacy. We tried, then met the governor, and he approved a place for the IDP resettlement. So based on stereotype, some group came out, say, they want to come and relocate some certain tribes down to Owerri. And before you can know it, violence erupted. And you have to stop it. So talking about gaps, we have so many gaps, both in internal and external migration. I don't want to go more or talking about infrastructural competitions. So let me just end it.
Thank you very much for reminding us on the issue of stereotyping. That really escaped our mind. It's a huge gap when it comes to the issue of migrants. Any other contributions or questions? Yes, I think we'll just take you for the last day because we've been given 5 minutes. The gentleman in Abgada, thank you very much. Oh, okay, we'll take 2. from the female gender. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, I'm
Yes.
Said Ibrahim Danja from Katsina State, representing His Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State. I am now referring back much on what Madam Paula has expressed about the immigration trends. I'm now referring much on the African migrants. Yes, Katsina State is one of the recipients of the migrants, both exit and then the entrance of the migrants on transit. I can testify that Nigeria is working hard and is giving free hand on the basic access to basic amenities to migrants in Nigeria, particularly on the health sector and the health services. There's no distinction between any migrant in receiving health attention in Nigeria, particularly of those in the border areas, like Katsina State, as I can witness. 2, have you ever noticed that Nigerians moving through the trans-Saharan trade, they are faced with these challenges of non-accessibility to basic health services, especially in some countries in the Maghreb areas. I don't know how you are addressing that issues in terms of the migrants reaching on transit to the other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So let's take 2 females. If you can contribute or ask based on the female perspective, that would be great.
Okay, good afternoon all. My name is Ima Bongladikpo Sanusi. I'm from the Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation. So my question, talking on human trafficking, I think it's good the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs is still here. I would like to say that the image in Nigeria in diaspora is truly very negative. Recently, on October 27, we had to bring about 4 victims from Côte d'Ivoire, and there are still many victims trapped there, trafficked to Côte d'Ivoire. It is very difficult to get the ETC, and it's also very difficult for foreigners. It was actually a foreigner that Googled our organization and how to do out-of-pocket return for those persons. The person is going to publish something. She's traveled to the US and she's writing, she's a journalist. She's going to publish how bad it is to return victims to Nigeria. I don't know what she's ready to do, but she says she's going to write about that. But talking about human trafficking, Dr. Nazi, since you were the one handling that, are you aware that despite the fact that victims pay their debt bondage, the current trend now from one of the victims that was returned from Côte d'Ivoire is that after they have paid their debt bondage, they must do graduation. If they don't do that graduation and the trafficker does not issue them certificate, they cannot do anything, no matter what. So they are still roaming about and loitering there. This is what I'm telling you. It is real from Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We don't expect any reaction from that. Suffice it to note that at this time, Nigerians have become commodities, just like in the days of slavery. The second perspective from the female. Or have you declined?
No, I've not declined. I am Tracy Oto Ezadri, Director, Center for Migration Studies, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka. You talked a lot about international conventions, instruments, and policy documents that are supposed to protect migrants' rights, especially in destination countries. And these policy documents, these instruments and conventions, of course, many have been domesticated in Nigeria. But the problem is, and I will state that and then ask the question, because without bilateral agreements, these instruments cannot even be invoked to protect migrants' rights. And being that Nigeria wants diaspora diaspora to be involved in national development in terms of brain gain and resources. We find out that many people travel out of Nigeria on their own. Many people, some of them travel on foot through the Agadez route. They find their ways to Europe. Many sell lands, many sell landed property, many sell everything. Find their way to across international borders, suffer. Some of them do 5, 10 jobs. They suffer for years until they regularize themselves. And suddenly, they are diaspora to us. And you know, according to diaspora policy, every migrant is a diaspora. Now, this diaspora that we want to depend on for remittances, how is the government trying to protect their rights? How many bilateral labor agreements have been signed to protect migrants' rights, to protect the rights of those workers that are supposed to bring back remittances to us? That is number one question. Then, private employment agencies. Of course, there are policies governing the operations of private employment agencies. And these private employment agencies, on a daily basis, they send labor migrants to Saudi Arabia, to Oman, to Dubai, to so many places, to Europe. And when they do that, and these labor migrants began to have issues, nobody can trace them. There are so many gory stories coming out of those kind of arrangements. And when we've asked, they said that many of these private employment agencies are not registered with government. And so government cannot even track them down, cannot hold them responsible. So how is the government ensuring that private employment agencies that are operating, these people, when they fly them, immigration cannot deny that they do not know that they lift these workers and they take them out of the country? How is the government ensuring that the private employment agencies are registered so that they can be held responsible for these labor migrants when they travel and they have issues? Thank you very much.
Okay, madam, I deliberately allowed you to continue. How I wish I can allow you to go on and on and on. I think you all agree with us that we started with a full house and we're ending with a full house. What I really... No, they've been given for only 5 million, don't worry. What I really I can take as take home is the degree of passion and determination from each and one of us, from the way we have been able to do today's presentation. So once again, I think we've come to the end of this session. We thank all the panelists for their contribution. Safe journey. Thank you very much. And to the organizers, the Honorable Commissioner, thank you for the opportunity given to us to, participate in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now take the picture, the group picture. We'll invite the Honorable Federal Commissioner to do us the honors to join the panelists. Please put your hands together for them. Can we clap for the panel, please? Our panelists, as you look at the photographer, it's good to smile. It means what we did here is good. This panel is gender balanced. I mean the panel, not the picture group. But our Honorable Federal Commissioner is a he for she, so he can balance it up. Please put your hands together for him. We have one more thing before we leave. We have done very well with time, and we have done a lot that has helped us. Migration, traveling, whether by choice or by force, changes a lot of things and your perspectives. I've traveled to a country, and for the first time I understood what it looks like for an angry robot to yell at you for taking the wrong turn after 2 or 3 minutes, and it just works differently. The first time I went out of this country, I was invited by the commission. I traveled and I told myself, I said, I would like the person who will drive me from the airport to my hotel to be... Sorry, sir. It's my own, sir. I said, the person who will drive me from my hotel, from the airport to the hotel, will be a white man. I'll make sure that the person who drives me, who takes my hotel round, washes my towel and everything, is white. I just like it. Fancy person who would give me food in a restaurant must be white. I just wanted a change. And it was in November. By the time we were traveling, I got to the airport and this person was driving me. So I told him, pull over. He did. I thought he was too obedient. I said, okay, can you drive again? Can you wind down? He did. I suspected. I said, sir, driver. He said, yes, sir. I said, where are you from? He said, sir, I'm from Morocco. I said, can you reverse? I want somebody from abroad. Not somebody we are local here in Africa. I want a real white man to do these chores for me so I can go home and tell my people. I need my children to understand that I was served. But I have come to learn that we are the same, we are united. It's one global experience, and it's beautiful. Please put your hands together for us. The last assignment will be done by one who is very special. They have described her as the one with the smile of a migrant, the shoulder of a mother, a career diplomat, and a seasoned administrator with stories, a strong commitment, facilitating access to vital information and supporting the development of migration resources and helping to foster informed decision-making and opportunities for vulnerable communities. She champions efforts to promote the protection, welfare, and reintegration of Nigerian migrants through innovative programs and strategic initiatives. She is the Director of Migration Affairs at the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons. Please put your hands together as I welcome Ambassador Catherine Odida, MNI. Please clap for her as she comes up to tell us what we have done and to thank us for today. Can we clap some more for her, please? This applause is universal. She's even getting foreign applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, and these participants. As we bring this year's National Migration Dialogue to a close, themed Beyond Borders, celebrating migrants' legacy, protecting their rights. On behalf of my boss, the Honorable Federal Commissioner, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all who have made today's discussions both insightful and impactful. Your dedication and contributions have significantly enriched our understanding of migrants' complexities and opportunities. This was exemplified during the panel discussions today, which offered profound insights. The first panel on contributions of migrants to the socio-economic growth of origin and destination countries vividly showcased the invaluable role migrants play in driving economic, social, and cultural advancement. From their innovations and labor to the billions of dollars in remittances Nigeria receives annually, it is clear that migrants are at the heart of global and national development. The second panel focused on protection of migrants' rights, access to information, decent work, and documentation, highlighted the importance of safeguarding the rights of migrants. It also underscored the need for fair labor conditions, access to information, and proper documentation, all essential for fostering inclusion, trust, and empowerment within communities. These discussions align with this year's theme and the global focus for International Migrants Day, honoring the contributions of migrants and respecting their rights. They remind us of the dual responsibility to celebrate migrants' legacies while ensuring their rights are upheld and their voices amplified. As we move forward, Nigeria's presidency of the Rabat process from January 2025 to January 2026 offers an extraordinary opportunity to shape migration dialogue at a regional and global level. The recommendations from today's panels will be instrumental in setting the agenda for our Rabat process presidency and guiding our national migration program in the years ahead. Tomorrow, we encourage everyone to join us for the Civil Society Forum, where we will continue this critical conversation with our civil society partners led by the Civil Society Network on Migration and Development, CSO Netment. Their grassroots experiences and community-level insights are vital to advancing migration governance and ensuring that our policies are inclusive and impactful. Finally, I extend my heartfelt thanks to my boss, the Honorable Federal Commissioner, Honorable Aliyu Tijani Ahmed, for his exceptional leadership in hosting this dialogue, and to the management and staff of the Commission, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, particularly the staff of the Migration Affairs Department, all the panelists, participants, members of the Technical Working Group on Migration and Development, and civil society representatives for all your contributions. Special recognition goes to our dependable partners, International Organization for Migration. Of course, other partners include IRARA, ICMPD, GIZ, and the EU and the European Union, as well as others that I cannot all mention now, whose unwavering support has made this event possible. Let us continue working together to uphold the rights of migrants, celebrate their contributions, and strengthen our collective approach to migration governance. I wish you all safe travels and look forward to seeing the tangible impact of our efforts in the coming months. Thank you, and see you tomorrow at the Civil Society Forum. Thank you very much.
Please, can we clap properly for her? He had actually asked me at the back that I should ask us to do something. If you want to stand to do this thing, fine. If you want to sit down to do it, what is important that we especially appreciate the Honorable Federal Commissioner. If you want to sit down to clap for him, you want to stand, just do your own thing. But let's appreciate him. Please, thank you very much. We appreciate you, sir, for providing exceptional leadership. Sir, please sit down. Sit down, please, sir. Sit down, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are honored to have you. Thank you very much. Please, you may take your seats. I had to ask us to do this because I don't want to mention where I used to work. Once we do the opening ceremony, my Oga will just follow the minister and go away. But we see he sat down till the end. In fact, at some point, he was taking notes. Thank you very much, sir. That's leadership. Please, another round of applause for him. Take your message. Your message now. You say you want to talk about it. One close.
All right, in closing, I just want to convey a message. There's a gentleman at the back who said that he didn't get a chance to ask a question or say anything, but the message he says he would like to pass across to the leadership is that Nigeria's teeming youths are in love with our country, and the country should be made a better place for every youth to succeed, so that migration to countries like Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Togo will reduce. So, Honorable Federal Commissioner, I hope you got the young man's message. He's at the back over there. So please convey it to every channel which you can help us send it through. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will close with this. In the words of the legendary Greek philosopher, Aristotle, he quoted, and I quote, permit me to translate it to our pidgin parlance. He said, "Nah, too much talk, they make jollof rice cold." Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our lunch, and after our closing, we'll just head over there. The instruction is to our guests in front and the VIPs. Please, you will use the room at the back, the same place where you had a tea break for your lunch. And to the rest of our guests seated at the back, you will use the entrance over there. The buffet tables have been set and prepared all for you to eat and enjoy yourselves. Once again, thank you for your time. It has been an honor serving as one of your compares for today. And please help me also appreciate.
Please, the food in both places is the same. It's just that the VIPs in front have a small meeting in that room behind.
All right, I want to invite the Honorable Federal Commissioner and the guests in front for a quick photograph. Please, the VIPs in front, please step forward. Once again, I want to say a big thank you to you, sir. Working with you is always a learning curve. Thank you very, very much.
Please, those in front, can we come to the podium so we can have a group picture with the Honorable Federal Commissioner, please. The rest of us, this entrance to the left, to your right, will lead you to lunch.
Madam?